Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Two Tired Parents podcast. I am Miles Weber,
I'm Heather Weber.
and as always, we are tired.
We are. You're married today.
Yes, I am married today. I know last episode I left my ring inside the house and
Nobody's
was like,
going to know we're married.
I know nobody's going to know that we're married, and now I've got the ring on again, and so there we go, everybody, because that's the only way you decipher if you're married or not, right? That's always the weirdest thing to me when I see, like, women get so territorial about their husbands, like, if they leave the house without the ring on at all, and they get, like, mad, and I'm just like, that says a lot about, like, what you think of his character, that he doesn't have the willpower to be like,
It's like
no,
with the
thank
ring
you.
comes the willpower.
Yeah.
If the ring's off, we're just all open for business.
Babe, I forgot my ring. I'm sorry. I cheated. I was in line at the grocery store and it all happened so quickly. Like, it was 10 items or less, and I had 3 items that she took care of. So, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm just like, hey, I think you got some bigger marital problems if the ring is that much of a thing. Because, you know, you could just trust him to be like, no, I'm married. Like, that's all it takes, right? But alas, this is cool that the guest we've got today, because this dips back into the world of the wrestling podcast that we used to do. I think, right? Because I mean, obviously, as two tired parents, taking on an extra podcast is a lot of work. So we unfortunately had to shelf the wrestling podcast that we were doing, but we still do have a love of wrestling, and this guest that we have today has started to dip their toes into the indie scene of the wrestling world. We've been friends with her for many years and have had mutual friends within the comedy scene over time. So we know her as Marisa Houston, but some people in the indies might know her as Miss Regina. So please welcome to the podcast both of these people wrapped up into one. Marisa, how are you?
Hi, yeah, that's me, kind of a dual personality here. But thanks for having me on, you guys. I was thinking about it today, like, gosh, how long have I known them? And then I couldn't even go back that far. It's been a long time. So
The
this is
Pepper
cool.
Bellies days, because I mean, it was
Pepper
like with David.
yes,
So I mean, through
with David, the
Blue,
Pepper Bellies days. And I met David in 2006. So,
and I started in 2008.
man, yeah. So
So it's
it's
been
been
about
a long
between
time.
16 and 18 years is probably a safe guess of how long we've known
Wow.
each other.
And we're kind
So
of grown-ups now. We're kind of grown-ups, like this much grown-ups.
I think that's the right amount, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, you
it's
want to
this
be
much.
kind of grown up enough so that you're not just a reckless shithead.
Right.
But I mean,
Right,
not
right.
grown up enough that you can still have fun, be able to let your inner child play, which I mean is what
Yeah.
you've been doing recently. And we'll get more into
Yeah.
that in a little
Cool.
bit. So, but I mean, I think first we could kind of get into a little bit of like your journey as a mother, because you are a mom. So why don't you
I
let everybody
am.
know how many children you have and what the age range is there?
Yeah, I am a mom and a mom of 2 adults now, which is
Great.
very, very strange. It is a weird like phase of life to not have like little ones running around the house, and they all feed themselves and have their own social life now. So I have 2 kids. My daughter actually turns 22 tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Happy
Wow.
22.
birthday.
I don't know how I feel about that, only because I got pregnant at 22. So, it's a little scary as a mom
Yeah.
that your kid is now that age. But thankfully, she is so much better behaved than I was at that age. So, I did all right there. And my son is 19. He is getting ready to start his sophomore year at San Jose State.
Nice.
So, they are busy kids. They are great kids. They still want to hang out with mom, which
You did it.
is like the
One.
goal, you know. But it is a weird like phase because I see my friends like you guys, right, that have younger kids. So you guys are like in the middle of like, yeah, I love it so much, but also,
Yep.
you know. Um, and I say, oh, like I miss it and I love to like help and babysit. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, they're yours now.
Yep.
And I never thought I would get that way, because when you're in it and you love it so much and they're just they need you for everything. And then they're snuggly and cuddly. And and they're exploring and experiencing things for the first time, like as a mom and as a parent, that's like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And so I never thought I would get to the point where I'm like, oh no, like no kids, like I stay away from little kids. And so but I got to the point where I'm like, I'm done. And I too I've got one of each, and I think that's where we're gonna cut it off. And it's been great. And now that they're adults, it's this whole next stage of, I got through the middle school years where you just want to give them up for adoption.
I think middle school age people are the worst that we get.
My sister teaches middle school science, and she comes home with these stories, and I'm like, God bless you, because I couldn't do it. These, and then the jokes and they're all chronically online all the time, so they've got all the things, and oh my gosh. So thankfully, I don't have to deal with that age anymore. And then high school, it was, not the easiest, but we made it through. But now I've got these great human beings that are, that are just great. They're good people. Like that was always my focus. Like I'd love for you guys to always be great students and all of that stuff. But my focus is like, you guys are good people, and they, they're on the right side of history. They stand up for what they believe in. And it's like, they're just good people, like, thank God that they're just, that they're the best. So I've told them that if I do start to get a little too old lady, you got to tell me, like if you got to tell me if I'm shifting into like old lady mode a little bit. And they do, they do. They're like, Mom, no,
they let you know when you're being cringe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They tell me, and I'm like, oh, that's good. Just don't let me, because I don't want to be that mom that's like they're embarrassed of their mom. So I mean, I embarrass them anyway, but
yeah, what are you gonna
only
do?
because I still do like fun stuff, and they're like, oh, here comes Mom. Or
Yeah.
if we're at like an event, and like the good songs, like the songs from the '90s come on, like that '90s teenager comes out. Sorry, it just does. So they have to deal with that. So.
I mean, you gotta enjoy life. You gotta enjoy life until the very end, and it doesn't matter what it looks like.
100%. I am a big kid.
Do you find yourself talking to your kids about how you were as like a parent when they were younger?
Yeah, and we've had some tough conversations because, I was married to their dad, and that it didn't end well. We're divorced, and there were some times there where I'm like, I wasn't the best mom to you guys. I was not the best mom, and I apologize, and I will speak this to everyone that I can, is like, it's okay to apologize to your kids. Like, please apologize to your kids. It's, my mom didn't do that for a lot of things until I was well into adulthood. But I was like, yeah, but there was times I just was not a great mom to them. So, but they know we've always been very open, sometimes too open, but I'd rather them, kind of hear about life from me than, from some other source. So, but yeah, it's great. We still hang out. Like and my son will want to just go out to dinner sometimes. Or the other night, me and my daughter were in my bed eating snacks, watching a movie. And it's like, oh, she still wants to like hang out with me.
That's amazing.
Aww.
You won.
And like, I did, and award shows. So growing up, like award shows was everything, right? It's like the MTV Awards. Like you had to watch the award shows. And so my daughter inherited that love of award shows and award show performances. So I think it was like the BET Awards or something. I don't know, like 95% of the people on that show. But it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
It was, although they did do like it was like juvenile, like tribute or something. And I was like, okay, there we go. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we're talking.
You throw some juvenile or something like that on. Okay, I got it now.
Yeah. I love that.
And the kids are like, who is this?
I'm like, oh my god.
Let me educate you a little bit.
And I was like, hold up, I can find pictures.
But I mean, we talk so much about that's kind of like the win as a parent, right? Like, I mean, you got it all. I mean, in the sense that like we want to make good people. I mean, it's just like, hey man, we could figure out the scholastic side of things later. Be passionate about what you do in life, and just be a good person. Put more good out into the world than you put bad. And then, we do that enough times with enough society, maybe we could re-steer the ship in a positive direction. And in 20, 30 years, we'll be like, oh man, look at what you all made. Like, this is
Yeah.
fantastic and beautiful. So you got good humans that you raised into adulthood that are now just out being good humans in society. And they still want to hang out with mom. They still want to touch base. The fact that your
Yeah.
son's just like, let's go get lunch. Your daughter's like, hey, award shows
Yeah.
or like movies and things like that in bed. Like, that's all we ever talk about wanting is just like, we want them to be an adults and be like, so are we going to WrestleMania this year? What are we doing? Like, I mean, like, hey, are we
Exactly.
coming to EDC with you guys? Like, what are we doing? Like, just like, yeah,
Yeah,
if you still
that's
want to,
it.
absolutely.
We
That's it.
we we do concerts. My son's more into like the sports side of things, so he's the one that's into wrestling that I'll take to wrestling events um and the Warriors games or whatever when I can afford it because good Lord.
Ugh.
But yeah, it's crazy.
As
But
long
like
as they're
my
not in the
daughter,
playoffs, right?
yeah, good Lord. I don't know, they've priced everybody out of these normal things, these things, um but yeah, my daughter, we go to concerts, we share music together. I've had to use my old ways of like, let's persuade the security guard into getting us closer. And I'm like, your mom has a really, specific skill set that I've used since high school. So
Yep. Yep. Yep.
it's
Yep.
like, yep, so you want to sit closer? We got it. So,
I love that skill set.
and
Oh, yeah.
it's fantastic. And we share a love of boy bands, which is great. So she got that from me. So, and I still listen to all the boy bands, even the new ones that come out. So now it's
There you
all
go.
K-pop. Now it's K-pop life.
Oh, yeah.
So
K-pop is taking over.
It is. It is.
it
Well,
is.
you're taking Robin to a concert on Sunday now.
I am.
So,
We're
yeah,
gonna
that's
see.
happening.
I just keep saying "Walk Off the Earth" and I forget Andy Grammer's there, and I'm sorry. I love Andy Grammer.
Andy Grammer's the headliner.
I know, but
Which that's not who's important.
But
Yeah.
I'm such a big Walk Off the Earth fan, and so
Yeah.
it's like I love
That's
Andy Grammer, and
fun.
I'm staying for the headliner this time.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
because we went and saw, oh my God, we
Big
went and
Sean.
saw Big Sean, and he was middling for, I don't even remember the guy's name. I couldn't even tell you who the final act was. And I was just like, I don't care. And so when Big Sean was done, we left. And we didn't even
That's
get the
that's
headline of
fair.
the time of day. And so did a few other people. We saw a handful of folks. They're just like, we came for. We wanted to see Big Sean do his thing. And now we can leave the concert early and be in bed by like 9 or 9:30.
and get out of the parking
Oh my
lot.
God. And get out of the parking lot.
Yeah, the
Oh.
parking lot. That's the key, is getting out of there early. That's fantastic. But
Yeah.
it's what happens,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fun.
So we're staying for Andy Grammer, but
Yeah, because it's Andy Grammer and he's fantastic
Yeah.
and positive. So, but yeah, you're starting that tradition now with Robin for like the music and things like that.
I mean
and,
everything. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna grow up and be like, I like too many things, and I need to take some of this
Yeah.
off
But
my plate.
you build your own little like buddies, because like, as adults do, like keeping up with like friendships is hard, our own friends and hanging out. And it's like when you had little kids or your friends don't, like the friend meetups just are not the same anymore. And so, thank goodness for social media and stuff so you can keep up with each other's lives. But it's hard. So then you kind of build your kids into like, well, I like this, and I want to go, so I guess you guys got to go too. So, and then you just build your little best friend, and then you just always have someone to ride along with you.
Right. I mean, he loves music. He loves dancing. Him and I danced
Yeah.
on stage together earlier this year.
yeah, at the showcase for
but
Bliss Urban
I
Heights.
love
Yeah.
that.
But he loves wrestling. I
Yeah.
mean, this kid has gone to WrestleMania and I think one SmackDown and 2 or 3 Raws so far in his
Yeah,
life.
and they were
He's
they were
living the dream.
monumental too. Like, I mean, one of the Raws, Penta debuted. The SmackDown was Danhausen's first WWE match, and then he saw John Cena win the 17th championship at WrestleMania last
Oh
year.
yeah, that's like wrestling history, and he's just
Yes.
in there.
Yeah,
Has
he's
no
just
concept of how big that is, right? Like just,
none whatsoever.
Mom, why are you crying? Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, as soon as Cena won
You
last year, I
understand
turned
when
to
you're
her.
older.
Just the waterworks immediately. Just like I don't
Oh my
remember in
gosh.
Ghost when Demi Moore ruled that tier. She had
Yeah.
that on both eyes when Cena hit that 3 count last year, and I was like, oh man, yeah, it happened. Here we are.
That's
But that was
real.
also what I called when he came out. Was that Money in the Bank that he came out the year before? and he was just like, so I'm retiring. Next year's my last one,
Yeah.
so it's gonna be my last
Royal Rumble,
Royal Rumble, my last
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania, my last SummerSlam, and that night we got WrestleMania tickets.
We did.
I told him, I'm like, I need to be there,
We're
and I
going.
need to be
Yeah.
there when it hits 17.
Yeah.
And I got my wish.
There it was.
So
Living the dream. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's exciting.
I am curious. Does Miss Regina do any parenting?
Ooh.
You know, not really, because Miss Regina's style of parenting would not. It would be a lot. It would be considered abusive, probably. Um, so, Marissa is very, I'm like the compassionate friend, the shoulder you can cry on, like, oh, you've got a problem. How can I help you solve it? Let's talk it out. Miss Regina, is that other side of me that's like, I don't care. I'm a star. My wrestlers are stars. There's a lot of yelling going on. So I don't think Miss Regina. Maybe Miss Regina was around when they were younger. Maybe when the patience was way thinner. When you've got two kids, like fighting in each other's throats all the time. But no, Miss Regina is pretty contained to events and not so much at home. So
For the best.
So how?
yeah,
so
it's probably for the best.
right, for the best, absolutely. So how does this happen? So I mean, like but also like before we get into that question of you breaking down how it happens, I just want to acknowledge like the healthy nature of the duality that you're letting both sides of a personality you have get out. I think that you being going, well, this is who I am as a person, like fundamentally in my core, this is who I am. But there exists somewhere clanking around in you this other side that is able to channel such a character that is so unlike yourself. And I think that you can say that about every person. Like, we have this version of ourselves who we know to be ourselves for true nature of like, this is the good side. But then there's also this
Yeah.
other side that we might have that could be quote unquote seen as the bad side. Or maybe it's not even the bad side. Maybe it's just like the misunderstood side, right? And or like with sometimes you talk about the divine masculine and the divine feminine, like having that balance. And I think there's so much of society that only lends to like you staying consistent with one, but not giving energy to the other. So I think that's where, you might get guys that are like a little too much on the one side because the feminine side of them never gets to really get explored. And so I think it's really good that you
Yeah.
have this core version of yourself that's just like, well, this is a side of me that might be a little more lighter and fluffier. This is a side of me that might be a little bit rougher around the edges and things like that. Do you think that being able to get that version out of yourself has been therapeutic at all?
It's been 100% therapeutic because my entire life, all through childhood, confidence was always an issue, right? Whether it was body image or not feeling good enough, all of those things. And when I'm out in public, people are like, "There's no way that's you. You're like super confident," and I'm like, "No, I'm actually not. I have we get into this. I have a deep-seated fear of rejection. Like it's a real thing that I had to work out in therapy myself. But Regina gets out there and walks out there like she is the prettiest, the baddest, the strongest, the boss. Is able to control these monsters in the ring, right? And it's this person that I kind of wish I could be all the time. Not really, because she can be kind of mean. But it's like it's this other side that gets to come out where I don't have to shrink. I can be strong. I can get on the mic and be loud and all of these things. And so it has been really great. I get to say things that I can't say at work, but I can say it at the wrestling shows. And so it's fun, and then the second I get back in the locker room or whatever, it's like, I kind of go back into, okay, that was fun. Like, what's next? And it's a weird, and then I'm back to like the locker room mom. Like, is everyone good? Everyone's whole. What do you need? Did you hydrate? I turn into the locker room mom a little bit. And so it is really fun, and it's incredible to be able to express both of those sides. I feel a lot more healthy mentally these last few years than probably I have, probably my entire life. And so it's a weird thing to say that wrestling did that, or wrestling brought that out, but it really has, and it really has. Um, People that have known me a long time, they're like, you're just so happy. Like you glow now and things are just so great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just living the dream. It's a weird thing, but absolutely, it's been really great to be able to get that out and have an outlet for it.
And yeah, you need, that's what I was going to say. You need an outlet for whatever that other side of you is. If it's a little
Right,
bit more bitchy or aggressive or like whatever your thing is, you have to have that. Like I know he gets that
right.
with comedy.
That's
Like
what I was about to say.
the
Yeah.
nice thing is he's never somebody he's not on stage.
Yeah.
He's
It's just turned all the way
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's not like an alter ego and he's an asshole. But he gets to like still have things come out. But there are parts that like if you keep that inside, that was part of like why years ago I went out for Tough Enough. And I was like, I want to be a heel. Like I have a resting bitch face. I
Yeah.
always come off as a bitch. I can't talk directly to a camera, but I can mess up some people verbally if I'm talking to them. And I'm like, oh, I wanted that so bad. Didn't work out, so I just went into Muay Thai and hit people. But
Yep.
it was so
Yep.
nice to have that outlet. So yeah, you have to have something that gets that out of you, or else it comes out in other ways.
Because that's where we
Yes.
met. That's what sold me on her. She was we first met 16 years ago. She was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm auditioning to be on Tough Enough so I could be a WWE superstar." And I was like, "You're
You're like, I
lying."
love you. You're like,
I'm
done,
like, "Oh my
done.
god!" Like you look the way you look. You are the way you are. You love wrestling and you want to be a wrestler. You love it so much. Like I didn't know unicorns were real, and so
Yeah.
like yeah, that was
Winning.
like such a sell for me that you were doing everything you could to channel that
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, I mean in stand up, that's my stand up for me is you turn it all the way up to an 11 out of 10. That's who gets to be
Yeah.
that person. It's like Beetlejuice, I let him off the leash. And just like, all right, go ahead. And then when it's time for it to be over, I'm like, all right, come on back. And then we'll turn it back down to like a 5 or 6 or 7 or an 8, But I mean, like,
Right.
yeah, it just goes all the way up. So being able to recognize that there are different aspects of yourself and you've got to make sure you're nourishing all of those aspects and giving them their own time in the sun to really
Absolutely.
shine, it does give you a better sense of being well-rounded. And so I think that's so very, very important is if people can get to know themselves well enough to see where they stand as far as like, well, in these areas of life I'm this person, but in these areas of life I'm this person, and that's something to
Right.
be cultivated and not shut down.
Yeah.
I think we wouldn't have as many of the problems in society as we have, and that's where you
100%.
see a lot of the self-loathing come out is just like, oh man, well, I see those people over there having such a good time. I wish I had the confidence to be that way.
Yep.
And then it's
Yep.
like, well, what would it take for you to be able to have the confidence to do exactly that and be that way? Does the outlet come out in some type of performance, which most of the time it does? And like for you, it was wrestling. Were you always a big wrestling fan growing up?
Yeah. So my dad is one who got me into wrestling, and now he's like, I can't believe you still do it. You still like this and still do. I'm like, it was your fault. Like
Yeah.
you started it. So, my dad kind of, they had told him this back in the 80s, right? And there was no ultrasounds and gender reveal. So they told him that my mom was pregnant with a boy. All the old wives' tales, right? Told him and they believed him then. They didn't know any different. That it's going to be a boy. So they had no girls' names ready. It was like, this is going to be my son, and I'm going to have this boy, and all this stuff. Very, very gender role prepare like parents, right? It was the 80s. And then surprise, I came a month and a half early, and I was a girl. So surprise. And so my dad that's why I grew up loving sports and, all that stuff. And because my dad was like, well, she's here, so we're just going to carry on and do the same thing. So that's why I was like a daddy's girl with, baseball, basketball, football, wrestling, all of that stuff. So yeah, I started watching wrestling when I was really young. my memories of it, I think back, like my dad was a big like Junkyard Dog fan, rest in peace, but that was my dad's homie, and then um I started off as a really big Coco Beware fan
Yeah.
because you had to love Coco Beware, he was fun. Um but and
Not Papa
then I
Shango.
became, yeah, you're a little scary. Even now, if you see him at events and he's like in full face paint, he's a big guy. I'm like, eh, you're big and scary. But then I became a Bret Hart girl. Once I saw Bret Hart, I was like, sold, done, and that's it. That's why Miss Regina wears a lot of pink. She,
Mm.
channels um, Bret Hart a lot. So a
Okay.
lot of pink and black.
Where did the
But
name
yeah,
Regina come from?
so so Regina's been a name that's kind of followed me around. So it was a name that I could have been named Regina. My parents had two girl names when I was, born. It was Marisa or Regina. And so that name has kind of followed me around. It was another thing. I was a big Reggie Miller fan. When he was playing, I was a big Indiana Pacers fan, and I played basketball in school. And they're like, okay, Miss Regina. That became, instead of Reggie, it was like, okay, Miss Regina. So this name since like sixth grade has just kind of been a nickname. Um, and then add that to when Mean Girls came out,
I
it
was
was
waiting
like,
for it. I was like, is
Yeah.
this a
yeah,
Regina George
yeah,
thing?
it is a Regina George thing because I love a heel. I love a snob. I love a bitchy woman. I love a girl who knows what she wants. And so I loved Mean Girls, still love Mean Girls. And so then the name Regina George popped into my head, and I'm like, this name has kind of just followed me all these years. And so when I started wrestling training, um, I had no idea what gimmick. I just started. I We can talk about how that was a fluke too, but I just started and had no idea about a gimmick name. Do I use my regular name? Do I think of some strange name? And then I'm like, you know what? Regina has been kind of a name that's followed me, and so it just made sense. So yeah, so
I
that's kind
love
of a
it. I
cool
love it.
story.
And
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
ever get into to cooking later in life for the masses, you can get into being Regina George Foreman, right? I mean,
Yeah, I could, I could do that. Don't know if that'll ever happen, but you
Mm-mm.
know what? No,
that's
noted.
Nope. When you started training, did you know you wanted to be a manager, or like where were you kind of going with it?
yeah. How did this happen?
So this is the strangest thing, So after I got divorced from my kid's dad, and I actually had time because now the kids were spending half of their time with him. So all of a sudden, I was like, what do I do? I was kind of at my healthiest weight wise and everything, and I'm like, I'm in the gym because I had all this time. I'm in the gym like 3-4 days a week because I was like, oh, my kids aren't home after work. What do I do? Pity party, and I took that out in the gym, which it was a great habit. I should probably get back to that, but it's not easy. But anyway, that's a whole other podcast. But I so I went to an autograph signing of Bret Hart, okay, with a friend of mine. I was going just as a fan. I was so excited. I was decked out, in my leather jacket, and I had like pink and black, and I'm like, I feel like I look good, and I'm so excited. And
Just
because
out of
in my
curiosity, what year was this?
this was 2017 or
Okay.
2018.
Okay.
Okay. And I was like, when I was a kid, I was going to marry Bret Hart. And I was going to marry him. He was on my wall. So here I am, like, I was in my 30s at the time, like, this is it, And I laughed because at the time his wife was a black woman. And I was like, I missed my chance, man. It's like I missed my chance. But I go to this show, this autograph signing, and he's there with Kirk White, who was the rest in peace. Kirk was the owner and founder of Big Time Wrestling out in Newark, the Hayward area,
Mhm.
and so I'm there and I'm buying my autograph or whatever, and I want the glasses because I want Brett to sign the glasses. And
Mm.
Kirk stops and he looks at me and he goes, "Do I know you?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And he goes, "Let's take a step back." And I'm like, I don't know this man. I'm like, okay, creepy old guy. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, I just want to take a look at you. And I'm like, oh, okay, okay, whatever. And then he goes, hey, Bret, what do you think? And I'm like, don't look at me. Then I'm like, don't look at me. Now I'm like self-conscious where I was feeling confident before. Now I'm like, I don't want Bret to look at me. And Bret kind of does this like nod and then goes back to signing. And Kurt goes, have you ever thought about pro wrestling? And I said, oh, like actually in the ring? And I'm like, yeah, when I was 10, not now at 32 or however old I was. I'm like, no. He goes, well, hey, I run BTW. We were a promotion in a wrestling school. He goes, let's exchange information. He's like, because, and at that time he was like, you remind me of the current women's champion. I'm like, what? He goes, Nia Jax, you remind me of her. And I'm like, man, I will take that compliment to the bank. Okay. And I was like, I'll take it. And he goes, okay, take my information. We have a show in a couple of weeks. Come out, watch a show, see what the production we put on. And then if you are interested, come to training. He's like, there's no forcing you to do anything that you don't want to do, but just watch what you put your body through, all this stuff. Well, Bret was like one of the funders of the school. And so if Bret, and he's like, you already got the boss man's, sign of approval. And I'm like,
I'll do whatever.
Hell, okay.
I'll do whatever.
Yeah, like, whatever Bret wants, And I was like, okay. So that's how that started. That literally. So when people ask me how I got into like training and getting in the ring was Bret Hart, and not just because he was my favorite wrestler. It was he said to try, and so I was like, okay, so well, cool. I'm gonna try.
It's amazing.
So that's how that started. Yeah. Oh. So. It was crazy. And I was like, at this age, and I was like, I'm not in shape. But the trainers were really great. They're like, just get strong. The weight, all that stuff will come off just because you're more active. And they're like, just focus on, just get strong. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, if I keep that in my mind, they're like, don't weigh yourself. Don't even get on the scale. Just get strong.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's what I tell my clients all the time. Yeah. Like, throw your scale out the door. Like, unless you need to make weight for a fight, get it out of there.
No.
Yeah, it just kind of changed my mindset on, on working out and health in general, because in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't wrestle. Like, I'm like, I'm fat. I can't do this. And they're like, that's not what, he's like, you see some of these dudes in here that are 300 and 400 pounds? They're fat. Okay. Mm-hmm. But they're strong. And I'm like, that's fair. Like, okay. Yeah, but that's how that started.
Cool. Have you taken a lot more bumps recently, or more like when you got started?
Oh, when I got started, for sure. Yeah, I don't really have any desire to take any bumps now. Because our I don't bounce back the same I did 10 years ago.
And that's the question that we always drive home with people who aren't like actual wrestling fans. How much did your first bump shock you of your life?
Yeah.
Oh, that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's, because you're sold this whole thing, wrestling is fake, right? Wrestling is fake. It's fake. Yeah, no, their bodies are still taking those hits. You might not be taking like a full-fledged uppercut, but you know what? You're still hitting the ground. You're still making contact. Mm-hmm. I remember I'd come to work in my boring day job, right? And I'd have like fingerprint bruises on my arms from training. And then at one time I took a boot to the chest, and this guy's like boot print was like the bruise, the shape of his boot print. And my manager was like, "Are you okay? Like, are you being hurt at home?" Like, I promise you I'm fine. I chose this life,
Right. We were just talking about that. Like, it's consensual. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
It's fine. It was definitely interesting. And, learning how to, my biggest thing I had to overcome was learning how to fall and learning how to roll, because you spend your whole adult life like not falling on the ground, like I don't want to fall on the ground. Yeah. And then they're like, no, you just kind of roll into it. And I'm like, I'm terrified. Yeah. And ultimately that's why I stopped wrestling. Well, I got hurt, not even in the ring. I got hurt horseback riding. So a whole other thing. But I started hesitating, like doing moves, and I hesitate. And if I hesitate, I'm going to hurt myself and I'm going to hurt my partner. And so I'm like, I can't. If I'm going to hesitate, my mind is not in it, and I have to stop.
Yeah.
And so so my mind just wasn't in it anymore. The fear got me, and I'm like, I don't know how to get over it. But then Kirk White, he had me start working autograph signings with like guests and things like that. He's like, you're so good with people. You're so good at selling. Like you just talk to everybody and everyone just loves the smile and you just and you know wrestling and the fans love you. And he's like, I hate doing it, so I'm just gonna have you do it.
Great.
Okay. I need you to go pick up Bret Hart from the airport.
Okay.
Oh darn. Oh darn.
Is there a chapel on the way back?
Whatever you say, and so I started traveling and doing that kind of stuff, on weekends and at shows and being the ones running signings and stuff like that.
So
And
cool.
and that's continued, over the years. Obviously during COVID, that kind of took all that stuff, all the indie wrestling shows, all that took a big pause. But now it's like I'm back full fledged into not only being Miss Regina with my own stable of wrestlers that continues to grow, but also having some of my own kind of clientele that I'm booking. And these are pros, current
Yeah.
stars, former stars, and then I
Yeah, 'cause
have
I
them.
think you just had D'Lo come through there, right?
I
Yeah, D'Lo
did.
Brown.
I did have D'Lo Brown. He's a good friend and came out and did a couple of seminars and autograph signings and stuff out here. So
So cool.
it's crazy because like 15-year-old me is like, what the hell is my life?
Right. When
You
I
know,
saw
like,
D'Lo, I was like, it just like the little tinglies of like, I remember when I
yeah,
was a
like,
kid trying to do the neck and everything he would do, and like I could sing. I still know his entrance song, so
Yep.
I'm just
yeah.
like, so that's so cool.
And then you've gotten to be with our buddy Al Snow.
Al Snow, that man, I adore Al so much. Him and his wife are just like the best people. And I was his handler at a convention last year, which is how we met and clicked right away, exchanged numbers and all of that stuff. And I'm like, hey, if you ever want to come out and work, and then that became a thing. And he came out, and it was February. We had him out here, and it's just so funny because we had to drive from Lodi to Fresno, so it's a couple-hour drive, right? And the way back was gonna be late at night, and I'm like, cool, it's gonna be after a long day. He's just gonna like conk out and fall asleep. No, that man talked the entire way, and then got on FaceTime with his wife to tell her this story. It was so funny, and I'm like, I just want quiet. Al, I love you. I just want quiet.
So funny.
But that man is so insightful and, has given a lot of wrestling advice. And our guys, some of our guys from the Dragon's Den dojo in Lodi, I was like, you guys soak this up because, he still writes for TV and on OVW, and he's still doing all this stuff. And so it's like, don't just in one ear out the other. Like, take this advice. But yeah, he's great. I love that guy. I ran into him at Vegas during WrestleCon and Mania weekend, and we had to relive the whole story. And his wife's like, he still talks about the weekend he was out there with you, Marissa.
So
And I'm like,
funny.
I'm sorry.
It's amazing.
I'm like, I'm sorry that you have to hear this all the time.
Yeah, we had him on our wrestling podcast,
Yeah.
but it also
Well, that's
stemmed
awesome.
from, I think one day I was laughing at the table and Miles was like, what's so funny? I was like, Al Snow. And he's like, Al Snow? And I'm like, Al Snow is hilarious.
Really funny.
And so I was just reading all of his posts, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna follow." And they're like, "Let's get him on the podcast." And yeah, just
Yeah.
that. But also, we took so much life
Yeah.
advice from him, and like it was
Yeah.
also cool. The tips he was giving like up and coming wrestlers, so much Miles took into like comedy.
The parallels between
And-
wrestling and comedy are crazy.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. Yeah, he's a wise guy. I mean, he's a smart ass, and the dad jokes. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna have to spend like 3 days with Al Snow and dad jokes, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm
sounds great.
prepared for this. But it's great. Yeah. So, and again, it's like, for 15-year-old me is just like freaking out. I just was Mick Foley's handler for a weekend last weekend, and I'm like,
How was that?
I get to sit next to Mick Foley all weekend. Like, what is my life right now?
it's one of our dreams right now is to get him and Noel on this podcast, just
Yeah.
because
Oh
we
my
want to talk
gosh.
from like the father-daughter dynamic.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah,
especially
that
that
would be the
dynamic.
family
them and
dynamic.
like Kevin Smith and his daughter were like
Yes.
these are ones that like I would just love to talk
Yes.
parenting and
That would be incredible. Mick is like the greatest. And I mean, just gracious and humble with everyone that came through. He didn't feel like, I've worked with people who, rush through the lines and seem
Mm-hmm.
annoyed to be there. And I'm like, yeah, you're a joy, but
Mm-hmm.
like he really took his time to talk to everybody. And he takes two pictures with everybody, one without the mask, and then he puts the Mankind mask on and gets Sacco out and does a picture with Sacco. He does twice with every person.
That's
There's
so
no,
cool.
a lot of people wouldn't do that, take
No.
that time, but he
Yeah.
really
No.
does.
Yeah,
And
I've met some that, yeah, you just kind of, it's like a cattle call and you just kind of
yeah.
herd people along. Even, what year is that? 2000, no, 2010, I think met John Cena.
Hmm.
Whenever 12 Rounds came out, he was doing the autograph signing for that DVD.
Okay.
And that was one where I was naive and thinking, like, not a lot of people. It
Yeah.
was like
Yep.
through whatever the mall was. It was through the mall, through the underground, like where the staff goes through the mall, out the like Circuit City that was there or whatever, around the building,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
stood in line with my cardboard cutout of him. And as we were going through, security is like, there's no pictures. Like, he's not doing any pictures. He's autographing one thing. And then next went, and I brought the cardboard cutout, and he was like, this is really impressive. And he wanted to like hear the story of how I got it. And security's like trying to get me through. And he put his hand up. He's like, I'm talking to her right now. She's not done yet. I was like, this is so cool.
And then you freak out afterwards, like, and you just, as soon as you're out of his sight, you just fall down.
Oh, yeah.
Like yeah, you just fall over.
It's
I
like
did
the
that with
Boy Meets
Jason
World dance,
with
like
Yeah.
when you turn the corner. Just
I did that with Jason Momoa. I was all cool. The first time I met him, I was calm and cool, and the second I walked away, I was like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah, you get those. You get
Uh,
those where it's just like up front, you're just like, oh hey, yeah, what's going on? And then you've got to
no,
turn
no
a
big
corner
deal.
just to be like,
which
ah.
speaking of, you had a moment when you were at Raw, I think, get passed around, right, on social media.
Ah.
Yes, out of all the things to go freaking viral, oh my god. So I'm like, I post way better content than that, okay, and that's the one that goes viral. So I looked out into that corner seat,
Yeah.
on the hard cam at Raw, and it was the Raw before WrestleMania, right? Oh my god. And so I was, right there on the barricade, super excited, and I don't really like mark out for people that much, except, I mean, some of these people are incredibly stunning. They are gorgeous people. This is why they're on TV, and this is why they are on WWE on the big shows, because they are gorgeous people. And it's not until you see them in person that you realize, like, you're just like a real person. Like, you were,
Hmm.
it's crazy. So we've all been kind of feeling the Oba Femi aura, right? Because you just
Hmm.
can't help it. He's just so big, and then the entrance, and so when his music hit, I was like, let me go ahead and put on my little dual camera. I'm gonna record my face, because I was sold. I was in. I was the biggest mark ever, and so me blushing while he's walking up, and then the music, and I'm like squealing. I'm like, why am I squealing? Like, I watched it back after. I'm like, did I just like squeal? Like what? like I didn't even know I did that.
Who am I?
Yeah, I was like, wow, I'm just gonna post it, and it blew up. It ended up on Nigerian TikTok, which is why it blew up so big. And I've got several marriage proposals in my inbox, by the way.
I saw on your story, like, you had to block people. Like, it
I
was.
From
had to.
Nigerian
I
princes,
did.
I get those emails.
Yeah, and I was like, prove the bank account first, buddy. And do you look like Obafemi? We've got there's some
There's a reason
requirements here,
he got this result out of me.
He's the ruler.
Exactly. I'm not squealing for you, okay? but but yeah, it just was so crazy that that was the video that just hit. But once it hit Nigerian TikTok, it just
Oh yeah.
and it's still like getting numbers, which is crazy. But you can't help it when you're that close,
Oh,
And then
yeah.
when you're sitting and they're right there, I was mean mugging Brock Lesnar, and I'm like, okay, now I'm scared.
Yeah.
You're like, what am I
Because
going to do?
I'm-
I don't know. But
Because he's
I'm like,
massive.
don't yell at me. I
Yeah.
have this kind of fear for a
Yeah.
second. I'm like, he's
Don't
gonna
yell at me in your tiny voice that you have for some reason.
I know.
don't rip your jeans.
Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah,
jeans.
yeah,
I don't know
always
how
the
you can
jeans.
move
Yeah,
in those
right.
things. But
Our household is infatuated with Obafemi. Like, I
Because we
mean,
do the Oba walk so
we do the
much with
Oba walk so much.
Robin.
So Robin loves the Oba walk, but also now River's gotten into the chant.
is she?
Da da
Da,
Oh,
da
da,
da, and she
da.
like
I
dances with
love
it.
it.
She's 10 months old, butt scooting, and
And she will stop everything to clap and just be like, "Are we doing da?" And we'll hear her in the morning on the monitor, da
She's
da
singing it.
da da. And so it's so
I love
funny.
it.
But I love Obafemi so much because I mean, like, first of all, he's got everything. Like, I mean, like from in
Yeah.
ring to promos to character to song, like all of it. But his march to me is just like he's this massive guy, but he's in on it. Like so
Yeah.
much of wrestling is theater, and to see this gigantic man who could crush you if he wanted to, but he's in on it the whole way
Yeah.
down. He's just
And the
doing his.
scariest face,
He's
like,
and it's just such a
yeah.
wink and a nod, and I'm like, this is so much of why I
Yeah.
love wrestling is seeing these larger than life human beings that are just so committed to the
Yeah.
character, and him just doing that march is so delightful to me because of the juxtaposition of what it presents is
Yeah.
chef's kiss.
yeah,
Yeah, he's great. And so yeah, I had that moment, and then my boyfriend's like, "Oh, well, there Oba's coming to Stockton. Are you gonna go?" And I'm like, "No, I'm booked to the show, so I can't go." But I didn't think about it.
oh yeah.
Don't think I
This
won't.
weekend, I was eyeballing those tickets.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
literally, yeah. So tomorrow night is SmackDown. Friday night, the 24th. So I'm going to that.
Nice.
Um, and then normally I wouldn't, but it's because I can't go to the show here in Stockton the next day that I'm like, well, I got to go to one. So,
Yeah,
but I got to go to the show that pays me.
Yep.
So,
I get that.
Absolutely.
I mean, two things.
You know?
Yes, it's totally different when you see them in person.
Yes.
You like, and you don't realize you have like people have that effect on you until you like see them because, and I hope
They're
you're
in
fine
front
with
of you.
this. We went. It was a very last minute thing years ago. We lived in Sacramento, and we were just like, "What do you want to do today?" And I looked up Space Phone, and I was like, "What's going on?" And there was like a Comic-Con something happening, and the Bellas were gonna be there. And so we're like, "You want to go?" And we're like, "Yeah, let's go." So we went like completely last minute whim. And we end up going to their Q&A thing, and Miles has a question, and so he's standing in line, and he's standing next to me, and I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm just nervous. I'm like, what are you nervous about? And he's like, they're pretty. And then he covered it up. He was like, this is how I felt before I talked to you. I'm like, well played, sir. This is very cute. I'm going to see this play out.
Yeah.
But
Smooth
Yeah.
smooth with that.
but you don't realize that
Yeah.
anybody has that effect
Until you're there, yeah. And now we've
You're
gone to
standing.
their
speakeasy.
speakeasy in Napa.
Oh, that's
since
cool.
then. And we've seen them there. Like, and we talked to Bree for a while, and she was just like, "How come every time we pass the Six Flags, there's nobody there?" And I'm like, "It's ghetto. What are you new?" Like,
It used to be a great place, but
oh yeah, when it was Marine World Africa USA. But yeah, no, I
Marine
had
World.
that, and then there was another one. I don't know if it was when I was with you or if it was when I was in Seattle. But
when
there
you
was
saw
an-
Lita.
Yeah.
You told me about it.
Yeah, so I think it must have been when I was in Seattle, and I didn't even know she was there, and I think that's what shocks me, is like
Yeah.
I'm going through like all the different like ups and downs in the con, and I'm literally in the corner of the building, and I'm just looking at stuff, and then I turn around, and Lita's just standing there at a table 4 feet away from me, and I screamed. I was like, "Huh," and she's like,
See? The
"You good,
squeal.
bud?"
See?
Like, she's like, "Yeah, I just wasn't anticipating turning around and seeing you here right now. So, hi." And then I like tucked my head and I walked away. And she just laughed and waved.
She is fantastic. I was fortunate enough to be to work her and Trish Stratus' table.
Oh my
Yep,
God.
That's the dream.
Yeah, it was like I'm like this is it. I've made it, guys. This is
Yeah.
got Lita and Trish like
hanging out.
Trish is another
This is
one
it.
we'd love to have on for different reasons,
yeah.
but also wrestling. But also, I told him, like, anytime we're in Canada, like, I have a couple places I want to go, but one is her yoga studio.
Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in Toronto.
She's great, and I love it because when she's such a mom through a whole autograph signing. Every little kid that comes through, especially if they're the same age as hers, like she spends so much time with everybody. Like they stayed after closing because the line just did not even where we cut it off. And so, but it's just so cute to see that we forget, right? That like these superstars that we saw have total normal lives and their parents and grandparents and they've got spouses and they got to go home and cook dinner and all these things, and then you see them on the phone with their kids or whatever and you're like, oh yeah, they're like legitimately just us, but they are like hot people who beat up people. Like that's crazy. It's really
Well, that was
crazy.
kind of my other question, because I feel like we should bring it back to parenting. But so coming from the parenting perspective, but also you being like in the wrestling scene in some capacity, when you're, it's weird to say wrestlers handlers, but that's the correct term.
Yeah,
so
it is. Yep.
I'm going to say it. Do you find that parents that are bringing their kids like can ruin the moment? Like, does that happen at all when you see like parents taking their kids to meet wrestlers?
Yeah, actually. And it makes me kind of sad because when it's a younger, more current wrestler, the kids are really excited. And then I see a lot of parents trying to force their kids to talk to them or tell them what you told me last night. And the kids like in panic mode and they're like, no, they're like, they're embarrassed. There's a lot of overbearing parents. A lot of the talent that I've worked with are really good about making it about the kids, which is really great, And so, like Mick Foley is one that he was able to like pick, like, okay, kid's a little stressed out. I'm gonna talk to kid, and get on kid's level. And but there's a lot of parents that are really pushy, and then I've seen like the poor kids that stood in line to meet like some of the old timers, and the kids have no idea who these people are, but the parents made them stand in line for like 4 hours, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, that sucks. I'm like, so you got to bring somebody else, to like while you stand in line, let your kid go do whatever else. So I've seen a lot of poor, tired, temper tantrum kids who are just miserable. But it makes up for it when you see how happy some of the other ones are, and they get really excited.
And I feel like that's
really cool.
Also so true for the indies. We've gotten to take our son to like a lot of the wrestling at the library, and which he's made for because he does commentary about everything, and now people can hear him, and so our kid loves when people laugh at him. How weird. And so just indies is his thing, but also doing the meet and greets with the wrestlers after. The indies really make it about the kids, and it is so cool to see. Like, I'm gonna space literally. The spaceman guy that's in the Lucha Libro. He like gave Robin his helmet to like put on and take pictures in, and just really made it such a cool thing for kids to be a part of. So I love that that's becoming a bigger thing.
And that's funny seeing the heels who were like screaming at the kids and everything, and then afterwards they're just like, "Hi, how's it going, buddy?"
That's what we experienced. So when we saw Marisa there, she was managing a heel, and so when we went to talk to her after, and then her wrestler came over, and Robin was like,
yeah, he was a little. Robin was a little.
I'm not too sure, but he just knows if the bad guys come up to him, he goes, "You can't see me," and everybody laughs, so he keeps doing it and doesn't really understand what it means. And so, but yeah, it's funny to be like, no, they're pretending. They're pretending.
Yeah, and I always tell them, because like Miss Regina is this bright, sparkly person, but then all of the people that I manage are like loner, misfit, monster, kind of scary guys.
Very
That's the whole
demon-looking.
point. Like this. It's kind of the point where it's like, I'm just trying, they just need a little sparkle in their life. They're misunderstood. That's like Miss Regina's whole thing, like, and so it's hard because people get scared of him, especially kids afterwards. They don't want to talk to them. And I'm always one that's like, no, he's not scary. I told him to be nice to you. He's okay, and talk him down. But talking about the indies though, that's why I let people don't want to give indie wrestling a chance a lot of the time, because they're like, oh, they want to go to the big shows, and I'm like, I get it. That's big and exciting, but some people can't afford to take a family of 4 to Raw or SmackDown or whatever, even like AEW and stuff. It's not cheap.
No.
You know, when I was a kid, $35 was the expensive tickets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that was, it was
It's like
10
what you're
bucks to
paying
go
for
to these.
parking
Yeah.
now.
I know it's crazy. So it's like, yeah, but in the indies, I tell people all the time, if you really love wrestling, I said, go to an indie show.
Mm-hmm.
Go, you are up close, you get to hear everything, see everything, you're interacting, you get to meet everybody afterwards. You know, it's just, and you get people who really love wrestling. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why they do this on weekends, you know, in these small, even some of the small shows. It's because they really love it. The
Mm-hmm.
Lucha Libro shows are fantastic because one, it gives families an opportunity to go to something for free, which you cannot get anywhere these days.
Yeah.
No.
And you're getting like good wrestling matches
Yeah.
too. You know, it's fun. They keep landing on days on shows that I am booked somewhere else, which is not a bad problem to have. But
Yeah.
I'm missing out on some of those because I'm somewhere else. But um, you know, it's like you spend, and even the shows that you pay for, $10. Sometimes kids are free. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like go to those. You know,
It's
it's so
so
much fun
fun.
It's a blast.
and
Especially if you
make
enjoy
some memories.
heckling.
I was about to say,
It's
I get
Oh
to heckle.
yeah,
I get to heckle.
yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
that is always my goal, is to be like, can I break one of you based off of what I say?
Which you did.
And oh yeah, I did. I broke the ref and I broke the sound guy and one of the wrestlers. Like well, I think I
And
called
they love
their
it.
champion. I called him the EBT Diesel, and then the sound guy spit his water out and was like, "Did you hear what he just said?" And then there was a wrestler who was
That's
from
great.
Stockton, and so I looked up information about Stockton. And so in the middle of the match, I was like, Stockton's ranked 157th in education, and the referee lost it. Like, just
But
absolutely.
that's like it makes it so fun for those in the ring
Yeah.
because it means that you're engaged
Yes.
in
Mm-hmm.
the show. You
Yeah.
know, my kids love to come and heckle me, which is great. Which is fantastic because I'm a heel, so you know, in most places, and so it's fun. They love to heckle me. Um, and they get involved, and there's kids that get involved. My godson, who is 7 years old, he has all these action figures, you know, WWE action
Of
figures.
course.
He's now renamed them all after indie wrestlers that he goes to
Love it.
watch.
Yay.
And I try to tell these guys when we have like our little pep talks, and I tell them, I'm like, that's the influence you have. You guys have no idea. When you think you're just coming out here to make $40 at a show, or, you know, sometimes not getting paid at all, that these kids are going home doing your chants, your moves. They've named their wrestlers after you. You know, they listen to, like my godson today. I took him to breakfast, and he wants to listen to everyone's entrance. I did make a playlist on my phone to play all of these indie wrestler entrance songs because
It's so cool.
it's that important to him, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you guys, when you don't think you have influence on this crowd, I don't care if
You do.
there's 10 people or 200, you have a huge influence, especially on these kids. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool to see, you know, and I've got some of these, especially teenage girls. Apparently Miss Regina is a hit with the teenage girls, which is great because, you know, teenagers don't like anything. And they'll come wearing pink, you know, and stuff. And I'm like, you guys wore that for me? And I'm trying to be like badass Miss Regina. And I'm really
Mm-hmm.
like,
What, you trying to be me? Like, and you have to like,
you know, I'd like
I
flip
know.
my hair
Yeah.
and, you know, be like, you can never be me, but you look okay, you know? And it's
Right.
like, then I go in the back and I'm like, look what they brought me, or someone drew me a picture. I mean, just, oh my
Oh
God.
my
So
God.
That's so cool.
it's so much fun. It's this kind of cool life that, you know, you get to live. And even though it's the indies, it's still, you
Yeah.
know,
It's
it's
great.
the big stage to us, man.
We went when we lived in Vegas, and actually ended up being super cool later on. Is we went to like one of Karrion Cross's last shows at the Indies, where we
Before
went
he got
and
signed.
yeah, before he got signed.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to be a part of that. Who MVP was there?
MVP. Yeah. I
Oh,
think he
yeah.
wrestled
Yeah, yeah.
MVP,
He
didn't he?
yeah, he wrestled
Yeah.
that night. So it was just so cool to be a part of. But like you were saying, you never know in any aspect who you're influencing.
Yeah.
And that could
Yeah.
be like from the grocery store, comedy, wrestling, like all the way. You don't know the impact you have in people's lives, which goes back to the
Yeah.
beginning of like be a good person.
Be a good person.
Be a good person.
Yeah, and it's really cool. It is great, and I love getting to watch it too. You know, getting to watch, you know, one of our guys. He's the 209 Dragons Den champion right now, and just watching him, like I feel like such a mom because I'm like older than a lot of these guys. I'm like, you're 24, oh my God, and but it's really cool to watch these guys kind of grow into this, and the ones that really try hard, and he's just, you know, he's a superstar. He's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. Like I'm pushing the.
I
He's
feel
gonna
like you
be a
could
star.
tell. I feel like you could
But
always tell which ones are going to be the next one. And that's all the more reason to go to the indies because you never know who you're going to see in the beginning stages in the same way
yeah,
that, like, go to an open mic or, like, a showcase. You never know who you're going to see on the come up. But
Yeah, I mean, because we always
yeah,
say like Kevin Hart, all of them, they started
they
somewhere.
started somewhere.
Yeah.
yeah.
They had to
These
start
little
somewhere.
shows all the time. I was just talking to somebody about Danhausen, where last so 2025 WrestleCon, he brought himself out there, had his own table to sign autographs. Hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
Hardly anybody there because he
Oh,
was just he was wrestling on the indies.
yeah.
And then, here he comes however many months later, boom,
Yep.
he's big debut. And I'm like, they start small. They start on the
Hmm.
indies. And I'm like, and now he's this huge star. And it's like, this is it's
He's
crazy.
the
It's
reason why
Danhausen.
the Knicks won the NBA championship.
That's right.
So, and
So
and
it's really cool.
and no other reason.
And he's big in our house. I mean, our
Oh,
son Miles loves him, but our
oh yeah.
son loves him, and our son will walk around. You are cursed, and so I started telling him like we can't like just tell that to everybody because they don't understand. And so now
Yeah.
Robin's been walking around. You are blessed, and it makes people's day. Like they're so
It's a
happy
little
about
bit
it.
more like, yeah, palatable, I guess, than
Yeah.
cursing people at the grocery
But
store.
he'll say very nice, very evil. Like
Yeah.
Robin says that about
Very evil,
things.
very nice
Yeah.
all the time.
I love it. Robin is a great kid.
Wonderful kid. Yes. But
So
one
funny.
final question before we ride off
Yeah.
into the sunset. Since you're handling these wrestlers, as a manager, do you see any parallels between that and parenting?
Yes. Um, that's the easy answer. Yes. Yeah, because it's schedules, it's eating. Did you eat? Did you hydrate? Can I get you anything? Um, you know, Especially some of these older guys, they're older and they move a little slower, and it's like I got to make sure, can I carry that for you? You got it. So there is a lot of that, and I love to take care of people. It's just, I think a lot of with moms, it's just kind of innate in us, is this natural way to take care of people, and I do, like, I take care of the boys in the locker room. Hydrate, first aid kit. What do you need? You need electrolytes. And band-aids, and I'm like, yeah, I've got extra deodorant, I got extra everything. I just am the mom that's got all the stuff, and I love doing it. I complain about it all the time, but
Of
I love
course.
doing it. and
I mean,
and even these big guys, these big tough wrestlers and the pros too, it's like making sure that they're okay. Did you eat enough? You need to get you a little something. It's been a
Yeah.
couple hours.
mhm.
So
You're never gonna like
so it's
anything
really cool.
100% of the time,
Yeah.
and so just
Correct.
the fact that you get
Correct.
to do it, and I think you're maybe humble is the right word, but you're humble enough to like sit back and be like, this is a crazy life. This is a crazy, and like, yeah, there's things to complain about, as is anything in life, but sitting back and be like,
Hmm.
this is pretty dope,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have it
It
any
is.
other
It is
way.
pretty cool. I'm loving it and living it, and just hoping that it'll sustain, hopefully grow, and see where it takes me. But I call it my crazy wrestling life, because that's just kind of what it is. So
What a
that's it.
life. What
Hmm.
a life.
What a life.
Absolutely. We're living the dream out
Yeah.
here. Well, Marissa, we appreciate your time for talking to
Yeah.
us. Why don't you let people watching and listening know where they can follow you online and anything you would like to promote?
Yeah. Instagram, Regina Got Moves. I put it on
Mm-hmm.
too. Regina Got Moves on Instagram and on Facebook. That's where I post all of the cool stuff, the shows I'm promoting, the shows I'm on, and all that kind of stuff. And we've got people involved in all over the Bay Area, and actually all of Central California. So if you are looking to go to an indie show, you need something to keep you busy on a Friday or Saturday night. Give me a follow. I'm always sharing something. And
Hmm.
if you are a wrestling promoter and you want pros at your shows, hit me up
She knows some
because
people.
Yep.
I know a few people. So let's get some pros at your shows. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks, you
Love
guys.
it. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
This is amazing.
Yeah, this is
Absolutely.
fun. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a good way to
Yes.
spend an afternoon.
Right?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And thank you all for spending this time with us. Sound off in the comments. Are you a big wrestling fan? Do you take your kids wrestling? Have you been to the Indies, or did we convince you
correct answer is
to go?
yes.
You should go. If you
Yes.
haven't been to the Indies, and even if you're not a wrestling fan, you should at least take kids to go see live wrestling in the Indies just for the experience. So sound up in the comments where you live, and maybe we'll hop in there and let you know, hey, where you live, there's these Indies. Go check them out. So, but
Yeah.
thank you for watching and listening. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things.
Buttons,
I'm
buttons.
Miles Weber.
I'm Heather Weber.
This has been the Two Tired Parents Podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.